started, if you can take your seats. Okay. Welcome to the special member meeting of the Moss Creek Owners Association. I am Chris Servichon, and I serve as your president. The first order of business is to determine if we have a fully constituted meeting in compliance with the MCOA covenants. Don Collins, our treasurer, will report whether we have received enough proxies to establish a quorum.
So the notice to our special meeting was sent out on September 15th, 24, giving the date and time of the special member meeting. The stated purpose of the meeting is to conduct all lawful business of the association and to announce the results of the board of director elections. Included with the meeting notice was a proxy for your execution. Article 3, Section 5, the Moss Creek Covenants establishes the quorum requirement for the regular special meetings of the association at 30% of those entitled to cast votes either in person or by proxy. This proxy is used to establish the quorum and also provides for full power of substitution, but only as to those matters on the agenda for the meeting. For this meeting, 30% of the eligible votes is 614, either by proxy or in person. We have received 1,057 by proxy, representing 51.7% of the eligible votes. We therefore have established a quorum and may proceed with the meeting.
Yes, I do. Okay, thank you, Don. So our agenda for tonight, we are going to approve 2 sets of member meeting minutes. Then we're going to do the president's report. And that is where I say what Susanna makes me say. And then I'm going to say what I want to say. Then we will do the treasurer's report, the general manager's report, announcement of the board of directors election. Then we will take your Q&A, and then we will adjourn. And for Q&A, we will stand here as long as you want and answer all of the questions, so long as they are actual questions, not commentary. So keep them to questions, and then we'll have some of the management team that's wandering around that will take your questions from the various sections. Okay, first we'll need to approve 2 sets of minutes. In addition to my remarks, you'll hear from Don Collins, treasurer, and Scott Julian, general manager. Now let's move to the approval of the minutes, which have been posted on the website for review. I would like to entertain a motion to waive the reading of the minutes of the following meetings: special member meeting minutes of October 17th, 2023, and annual meeting minutes of April 16th, 2024, and accept them in the form in which they are distributed. Do I have such a motion?
So moved. Second.
Feels like we have all of the motions. Maybe a second.
Second right here.
We have a second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, cool. Okay, next slide. So these are the 2024 MCOA Board of Directors members. Myself, I'm your president. Chris Gallick to my right, vice president. Don Collins to my left, treasurer. Jan Alpert, who is absent tonight. Tim Berry, second from the end to my left. Bo Keene on the end to my right. Jim Panapinto on the end to my left. Pete Sparzo to my right, and Dale Todd is absent as well. Next slide. 2024 nominating committee: Linnea Wilson, the board representative, Tom Barreca from the golf club, Tom Harkins from the Rocket Club, David Yardo from the Boat Owners Club, Susan Forrest from the Nature Club, Cheryl Provost, member at large, and then Linda Solario, member at large as well. Round of applause is fine. I'd like to thank Linnea Wilson for serving as the chair, and to the other members for their service on this important committee. And again, let's please thank them for their service. Another round of applause. They did great work this year, as they do every single year. Okay, on the screen, what you'll see are the 54 members serving in governance for Moss Creek. So these are all of the members at large who sit on committees and volunteer their time and expertise to the community. Round of applause. There you go. Okay, trivia time. What is the salary of a board member and what is the salary of a committee member? 0. A huge 0. So for those of you who we're going to announce got elected tonight to the board, spoiler, you don't get paid. But just know that these people volunteer their time and their experience and their expertise, and they do it all for the love of Moss Creek. They are not paid. They are our friends and they are our neighbors. They are volunteers. Moss Creek functions through its committees, which serve as the interface between members and management. We have 54 members that are serving in governance this year, and we owe them a debt of gratitude. Okay, next up, this is the part where I say what I want to say. Marina fees, which I'm guessing is probably why half of you are here. Imagine that. To be honest, I thought I was going to be standing room only, so we did pretty good. Okay, so here are some statistics that I think are important to know about the marina. And when I say marina, just to level set, what I mean are wet slips, dry slips, so that's Lot A and Lot B, okay? So we have 69 wet slips, we have 32 Lot A slips, that's the lot that is closest to the marina itself. Then we have 95 Lot B slips, we have a total of 196 slips. Okay, for those who don't know, we've got 1,042 homes in Moss Creek. So we have 48 members who have more than one space out of 196. Our wait list is around 100. Now, if you ask 5 different people in the room, I promise you that you will get 5 different answers on how long the wait list actually is. What we're going by is what management tells us it is. They have surveyed the folks who are actually on the wait list. If you go and you tally it up on the website, and it's on the website, it's public. Everybody can go and look at it and download it. What you'll notice are a couple of things. Number one, there's about 150 names on there, correct? About 150. Some are duplicates. The real wait list is around 100. Okay? What you'll also notice is that some of those folks have been on that wait list for 4 and 5 years. What that says, not entirely sure. Everybody's situation is different. But the date that they joined the wait list is on the wait list. Additionally, we've got 12 boat owners or boaters who do not pay the activity fee. The rest of them pay the activity fee. Just a data point, not a comment, just a data point. Next slide. Okay, so the guiding principles when we're talking about setting fees for the marina. 3 different ones. Number one, the board represents the entirety of the membership, both current and future. The entirety of the membership. We don't represent one specific group in Moss Creek, we represent the entire membership. We are elected by the entire membership, we represent the entire membership. That's number one. Number 2, active marina for active boaters. Fairly self-explanatory. And then number 3, it should provide a lifestyle value. And that's not just the marina, that should be consistent throughout Moss Creek. Lifestyle value. Next slide. Okay, so here are the issues that we're trying to address. And I said address, I did not say solve. Here's what we are working through as a board. Number 1, the amenity is a finite amenity. It is the only finite amenity in Moss Creek. The only one. It's the only one that has a 100% utilization rate. We have a huge wait list. Just talked about that. And then number 3, we are contemplating a $700,000 investment, roughly, for an additional 17 wet slips. For those of you who are doing the math, that's about $41,000 a slip. So we are contemplating all of these things. We haven't made a decision, we are contemplating. Next slide. Here is the message. So we have gotten a ton of feedback. We hear you. We have gone back to the drawing board. The board, as recently as 6 hours ago, had a very vigorous debate about what we should do around the marina fees and the fees in Moss Creek in general. We have not landed anywhere. It's going to be quite some time before we land anywhere. In November, we will vote on the fee schedule and the budget for 2025. There is a lot of debate and a lot of work that needs to happen between today and when that happens. But we hear you and we thank you for your feedback. It is wildly valuable. It's been super helpful. So continue to provide that, but know that the board has a lot of work to do. We do not have a definitive answer tonight, but we have a lot of work to do, as does the finance committee, by the way. Don loves that. Okay, those are my comments. Now I'll turn it over to Don Collins, treasurer of the MCOA.
Thank you, Chris. So as everybody knows, he said 3 times, I'm Don Collins, treasurer of the MCOA. We do represent all the members. I just wanted to emphasize a little bit one of the comments Chris just made, which is we have a responsibility to the MCOA as an association. And so why do I distinguish between members and an association? Because the association is a perpetual thing. It's been here for 50 years. And the people who were responsible for this association 50 years ago have helped to contribute towards what we have today. So when we make decisions as a board and as a finance committee, we need not only to take into consideration the current membership, we have to take into consideration the future of the MCOA. And that does influence decisions and processes. That being said, it wasn't part of my presentation, but it just occurred to me. I'll give you a quick overview of our presentation. We want to talk about the Finance Committee's role, just identify the Finance Committee members, talk about the Audit Committee and their role, and their members as well. And then I want to give a financial overview of Moss Creek, reflective of results through this past August. So our responsibilities, hold on a second. Our responsibilities basically as a committee are many, but to go through them somewhat quickly, we're charged with ensuring the financial decisions support the MCOA, the vision and our mission. We do every month review our financial results compared to our budget. We make recommendations. We're making a recommendation. We're in the process of making recommendations for the 2025 annual budget to the board. We also recommend an annual 5-year financial projection. So we've talked about it as a financial plan, and I think we're going to retitle that into projection, because when we do this 5-year look ahead, none of it is going to remain exactly the same as it is today. But it's a necessary thing to do in order to adequately plan for our future. We're going to recommend MCO annual member fees to the board. We review Facilities and Infrastructure Committee's non-reserve capital project recommendations. So that sounds a little complicated. Basically, what that is, that's a list of things that everybody in this community has asked for, or brought up, or inquired about. So the Facilities and Infrastructure Committee board, we're not in the business of coming up with things that we want to do. We're in the business of listening to what we hear from members of the community. We have to review insurance policies and employee benefit programs. That's just a logical thing to do. Unfortunately, we review delinquent account procedures and policies, because we do have some of that. And we monitor expenditures for capital projects. So that's basically the responsibilities of the Finance Committee. The members are myself, Dale Todd is a vice chair, Larry Clayton, Claire Goddard, Stan Potter, George Viveris, Ryan Yantis. Chris Hervishon, as our president, is an ex officio. Scott Julian is the general manager, and Payman Shamloo, the director of finance, contributed heavily to what goes on in the Finance Committee discussions and meetings. The Audit Committee role is a little different. They basically work through the management team to request and obtain proposals for performance of audit work. They advise auditors of areas where the committee or board have special concerns or requests. They supervise the services of the auditors. Every year we have an annual audit. We're required to do so. And we hire a company to perform that, and our committee oversees that. They meet in executive session with that audit firm to assess the performance of MCOA employees relating to the availability and adequacy of all material presented or requested by the auditor. They convene an annual meeting of auditors, Finance Committee, General Manager, and Controller for purpose of reviewing and approving the audited financial statements. chair of the committees sitting right here, Richard Obrig. We have Patrick Hughes, Judy Johnson, Lynn McFeeters, Jim Linslow, myself as an ex officio on the committee. I want to talk a little bit about a few key financial terms that you'll hear. I'm trying to define it basically. Operating revenue is our dues, it's our activity fees, it's stuff like golf cart rentals, greens fees, court usage, gate fees, food and beverage, wardrobe utilities. Expenses are the other side of the coin: wages, benefits, cost of goods sold, maintenance of amenities, etc. We have non-operating income, which I think most of you are familiar with. That comes from certificate fees. Certificate fees are generated when a house is sold in West Creek. They, once again, just to emphasize, they can be paid by either the buyer or the seller, even though that hasn't always been the past practice. You'll hear about reserve funding. So we reserve an amount of money each year to cover the replacement of our assets as they depreciate in value, as they outlive their useful lifetime. And there's a few listed there. To get into the actual operating results, and this is once again is through August 31st of this year. We had revenue of $10,221,000 against a budget of $10,226,000. It's a $5,000 difference, and when you think about it, that's a pretty extraordinary number to me, to have a $10 million number come within $5,000 of what we were anticipating. That's kind of neat. On the expense side, we didn't do quite as well. We had actual expenses of $10,288,000 with a budget of $10,179,000, so we were $109,000 over. It leaves us basically with a actual deficit of $67,000 on the surplus side. $47,000 was the budgeted amount, so the difference is $114,000. Also, not an insignificant number, but not a huge number when you're looking at the size of the budget itself. And there's an explanation here as to why some of these things are off. And by the way, this financial information, for those of you who want to see it more frequently, comes out every month in the Finance Committee meeting minutes, which you can find on our website, if you can figure that out. Well, I can't, so that's why I threw that in. On the non-operating side, we have, this is where we've done very well so far, so good. We have revenue of $1,522,000 with a budget of $1,302,000, so we're $220,000 ahead of the game. Our expenses are within a few $1,000s. So we have a nice surplus in this area, $217,000 more than we were counting on, and that's through 8 months of the year. So that's encouraging in my mind. When we look at the total picture, basically we're $103,000 ahead of the game. If you look at the bottom right-hand number, that's the key. Enough said on that. We do have debt. We do have a line of credit, and we have not used it. It's necessary to have, and thankfully we haven't needed to use it. We have golf course equipment loan and golf course or golf cart loan balance, and between the two of them, it's $1.3 million. Important to understand, this is kind of like a business decision. We could have been leasing this equipment, but we've come up with a better approach, we believe. So we actually borrow the money, we buy the carts, and when we buy the carts, we make a deal with the vendor for them to buy them back from us at a predetermined cost, and then we start the process over again every 3 years. So it's kind of, it appears as a debt, because it is, but it's basically a planned business expense, if you will. The clubhouse loan is down to $1,657,000, so our total debt is just shy of $3 million. On the cash side, we've got unrestricted cash of 2.7. We have restricted smaller accounts in two of the different neighborhoods, Stablegate, Boyle Point. We have a vendor escrow account. We have a reserve fund account, I mentioned that earlier. That's basically money that's targeted to keep the community up and keep pace with the depreciation of all of our stuff. Aspirational capital comes from a combination of the two when we discover something that we think needs to be addressed. We have an emergency fund of $150,000. So on the balance sheet side, we're a little bit better than we were at this time last year. I like just to go down to the bottom line. We're looking at members' equity, and then we're looking at the L and ME, as they call it, but basically it's liabilities versus member equity, and it's gone up from $33,600,000 to $33,828,000. So basically, the equity is worth, on the pure equity side, we're up. What's the math there? 650. We're up almost $800,000 from where we were a year ago. So that's a good thing. That's showing increased value as opposed to going the other way, which can affect a lot of communities, but fortunately not Musk Creek. So in summary, we've got a very strong balance sheet. We've got total cash of $7.2 million. We've got an adequate reserve account. We're allocating monies each year towards new capital. That's always a debatable item. And we have an operating surplus basically above the 24 budget. And member equity, as I already mentioned, increased by 3%. When we look ahead, we have recommended the 25 budget, a fee schedule, and a 5-year financial forecast to the board for review. And the bold words down there are bold for a reason. We have not finished, we have not concluded. We have more work to do. We will conclude and we will vote on a budget in our November board meeting. And with that, I'm going to turn the conversation over to our general manager, Scott Julian.
I guess I get to cancel all my finance chats. I think Don did a good job. I'm going to start out. I'm honored to introduce our leadership team over here. I'm not going to go through them individually. Would you all stand up? 171 years of service to Mousetree. Tipping the scale with my 10 months. We're going to go through some awards. You have an amazing group of people here, some people we really need to start thinking about. These are some of our employee service awards. So we'll get together in November and we'll have an employee lunch and we'll recognize some of our amazing staff here. John Henry Edwards, 45 years he's been working here. So we figured we're looking for somebody who wants to give away their house. Maybe he's earned that. Cornelius Edwards, 35 years. Mitchell Wilkerson and Crystal Smith, 25 years. Mitchell started when he was 10 years old, so it looks pretty good. And then Kelly Clements, who's up in administration, and Juan Monzon is 20 years here at the club. Continuing on, Maria Hernandez is our housekeeping. She's been here for 10 years. This is a name no one's really familiar with. Let me see if I can. Melissa. She knows that somewhere, so 15 years, and we're never letting her go, as a matter of fact. So, And then 5 years, we have JD down in the golf shop, and Brenda, who's sitting right here. So clearly I've walked into a pretty special place. I'm going to really focus on one thing today, primarily communication, but I want to give a quick North Course update, of which I'm available to you anytime that you want to pop in and talk about the North Course. So the North Course, I think I reported on this when I'd been here a couple months. Nothing has changed since my last report. We continue to focus on really straight asset replacement on this project. Your greens will be completely rebuilt. If you don't rebuild greens, they rot from below and you lose your grass. So that's a good project. We'll be doing the irrigation system, wall to wall, main lines, laterals, everything. That'll be another part of it. We will do some tee work, which is probably the cheapest thing you can do. Basically, we're just going to expand the tees by pushing some dirt around. And there'll be a handful of bunkers that we will renovate that are critical to the actual green surrounds that we'll be renovating. And I really want to say, you know, we're looking at a $5.2 million project. Half of it has been reserved, half of it will be borrowed, and we will match useful life with economic life. We'll let some of the new people pay for that project. But you have to do these things. Grass doesn't just keep growing. This is a straight asset replacement project. This will be my 4th renovation in my career and my final. And I love this. I love what we're doing. I think Moss Creek's taking a very conservative approach to this. You know, I would add a few more bells and whistles if I drove in and it said Scott Julian instead of Moss Creek on that fountain in front. But it's your community, and the community has reserved for this, and so we'll continue to give more updates. We're meeting with our architect, kind of finishing the final drawings this month, and so I'm looking forward to actually doing some updates for you all on the North Course, and y'all can kind of nerd out a little bit on the agronomy with us and give you a little deeper dive. But I would say that I'm available to you. I'm pretty much here 6 days a week, and if you're super curious and want to see the plan or talk a little more, just come and see me, okay? I'd really like to talk about communication more than anything else. It's been a wild 10 months. You know, there's not a single person in governance that doesn't want our membership to have all the facts, to have the full story, right? That's the situation. The complication is I can't get in front of you enough. You know, it's hard to get in front of every single front that we have here. I think Suzanne and I have written a novel since I arrived 10 months ago. And so we hope you're able to read that. We're trying to do some things on the top line. Somebody was teasing me today that it took them half an hour to get to the bottom of the last update. But we try to do a top line, so if you don't have time, you can just kind of see what's going on. But we want to give you the full picture also. Thank you, Clark. You know, I've struggled a little bit with communication here. There's challenges. Just getting in front of people, answering all the questions, being in front of all the fronts. You know, I really have never experienced a community where we're able to broadcast things that create fear and divisiveness in our community. I've never seen it. I had a young couple come to see me on Saturday, and they had read a post about massive HOA increases and capital fees and food and beverage minimums and all this stuff. And I said, well, why don't you come see me? And we sat and we went through the whole 5-year plan. There's no capital fee in there. There's no large assessments. There's no food and beverage minimums. You know, we have a 5-year plan. And one of the things that we'll do in our finance chats is we'll share that 5-year plan with you. I think I met with about 6 people on Saturday, and we went through the 5-year plan. And they can see what the future looks like. So what we hope, I think, in governance is that we can give you the full picture, that we can answer your questions, that you can be fully informed. And I'm going to do the best I can to get in front of you as much as humanly possible. But it's hard. You know, getting in front of everything is important. So I want to circle back on a few things we have done. So when I first got here, I think I'd been on the job for about 30 days, and they said, hey, you got to do an ARB perspective. So we did. And I have to say, I think the ARB has done a great job, and I would point out Bruce Feinberg, who was kind of my thought partner starting this thing out, and then I got to kind of exit, and he took over. You know, the guidelines have been rewritten, and they've been shared with you. I think it's important that we give you a review process, that we put our thinking out there. I'm used to communities that really have constructive, healthy debate, right? Just like Chris said, we've heard you, and that's really, really important, right? We want to hear what members have to say. We want to have that conversation. But I don't want people to be afraid. For me to have this young couple come in and say, oh my gosh, we don't know if we can live here. They have 3 kids. They have a 17-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 5-year-old, right? And they come in scared to death. Well, let's give them the answers. So if nothing else, I'm available to you. You have a curiosity, you have a question, you heard a rumor, whatever it is. If you just want a little more of the story, just come see me. So we're going to do an ARB perspective, I think, next week, 21st?
Yeah, next Monday.
Yeah, and so we've released the guidelines to you all. We've received a lot of comments back. We're going to address some of those things, and then we're going to move towards handing it to the board. Probably some changes will take place after we get some input from the residents, and then we'll go forth, and we always put them to the county January 10th. So that'll be happening. The dog park. I don't know if there's any dog parkers in here, but we had we had a perspective down at the dog park. There's a couple things we like to do at the dog park, so we're going to follow up on that. I'm not going to go deep into the dog park, but it's a nice amenity. Food and beverage. So we have changed the opinion survey to once every 3 months. When I first arrived here 10 months ago, I read 378 pages of comments, and 50 of them it was just prime rib. Right, we just wanted prime rib. So we will be doing, we had a food and beverage perspective. We've really worked hard to listen to what the members said with the soup and salad buffets and the menu changes. And we're not perfect, but we're trying hard. And I think we have a very high eye care factor in our staff. They're a really good group of people. They care very deeply. So we just need to keep, the difference between good and great is about this big. It's tiny, it's attention to detail. And those are the things that really Jim and I are focused on. So we'll be focusing on food and beverage for the opinion survey. Every 4 months, we're going to take the opinion survey that is a third of our membership will take. And we're going to stand up in front of you. And we're going to tell you what we learned in 4 months. I haven't had an annual survey in a long time. It's hard to wait till the end of the year to discover you wanted prime rib in February. So we're going to try to change that cadence a little bit, and we'll be having a town hall, let's say a perspective meeting every 4 months to tell you what we learned and what we plan to do. And let me go on the finance chats for a second. So the finance chats are something I've done for, 30-something years. And what we really want to do is we want all the members to be part of this conversation. It's funny because we don't do our budget, we do your budget. If it was my budget, I wouldn't be open for dinner because I hate working nights. I definitely would not work Saturdays. So what we want to do is we want to start to talk about, what are the terms that we use? What are the things that are important to us? When we look at a number of $7 million in cash, that sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? Yeah, it really does. And you'll learn that we have to have certain minimum fund balances we just cannot fall below. I have a fiduciary responsibility to the association to make sure the association is around for 50 years after I'm long gone. The second most important thing is I have a responsibility to you, right? To represent everybody. People that want to shut the golf course down to people that want to have better conditions. Right? And I can tell you, I'm playing to neither one of those. That's not important to me. The input's important, but we've got to figure out what's best for the association and what's best for the community. So the finance chats, I am limiting, I didn't know how this would go, so I like to limit them to about 40 people so we can have a conversation, right? This isn't a room like this where I can't really address people. The one suggestion I did get that I will change for November and December was originally I only had one person per household just because I thought they would fill up really quickly. I'm going to change that for November and December so you can come with your spouse and all that kind of stuff. But I really, who's here on a committee right now? Okay. And we had an all-committee finance chat. Did you find it helpful?
Very.
Yeah. So we want to take this to the membership. We want you to know what's going on. And the other nice thing is you'll really understand that you have a contact in me. So you're going to need to follow up. You're going to write some questions down and you're going to follow up with me. But we're all going to kind of come along this journey together. The thing I'm trying to figure out, I think, here at Moss Creek is, how do we communicate most effectively as a community, right? It's not just me communicating. How do we do it as a group of people? When that couple came in Saturday morning scared because they had read a scary message on Facebook, that doesn't make me feel good as a manager. It doesn't make me feel good as a neighbor. I just watched us for a month help pick up debris in each other's yards, right? The DNA of Moss Creek is you help each other out, right? So I think my hope is that, we can give you the full story, that we can give you all the facts, that we can tell you what's going on a little bit behind the scenes, not behind the curtain. I have not seen a single thing at this community that I think is being hidden or put behind the curtain. I think that everybody wants you to have the facts, the full story, and to have a voice, right? So we can have a constructive debate. A lot of people in this room have spent time with me. I'm a 4-year high school debate kid. I love debate. I love a good argument, right? And my argument doesn't always win, and your argument doesn't always win, but somewhere in the middle of that stuff, we're gonna find something. Hopefully some positive progress. So it's been an interesting 10-month journey for me. I'm honored to serve Moss Creek. I'm honored to work with this leadership team. I have a lot to do. You'll see me ramp up my performance in 25, and I'll be in front of you a lot more. I want to speak to the budget a little bit. So when you come to the finance chat, you'll see that we have restricted funds and we have unrestricted funds. Restricted funds are to fund depreciation, and we keep those restricted. Unrestricted funds help us do things like improve, right, to get better. So think about the people who came before us. If the people that came before us did not protect, maintain, and improve this community, we're sitting in a cinder block building right now. There's no tennis, there's no Boswick, there's no pool, there's no fitness center, and that's what we want to be able to do: protect, maintain, and improve. You'll see when we talk about finances, we don't have a lot of aspirational capital, and that's okay. Every once in a while, we just need to take a break, right? There is such thing as construction fatigue. So as we build our 10-year plan, we build in breaks, right? We pull the dumpster off the property and let you just enjoy what you have. But it doesn't mean we're going to stop our effort to improve. We're going to figure out what that looks like. So we have a few work groups you might hear about. We have a marina work group right now who's really focused primarily on the expansion. And that is scheduled in the 10-year cash flow, in the 5-year plan, starting in 26, I think, roughly. We're going to continue to talk about that expansion. Boswick Point Park. So that has been a plan that's kind of been on the shelf a little bit. One of the best piece of property, if I circled the best piece of property on this community, it's the playground. That thing is awesome. Now, I don't want to get rid of the playground because you got some amazing trees, but that's where I'd put your clubhouse, is what I would have done. But that is a beautiful, amazing amenity for you all in this community. Now, there's a plan that says, hey, we're going to focus on the fitness center and all that kind of stuff. We're pulling that plan out, and we're really looking at that, right? And we're not going to engage architects. We're not going to get into this thing. The thing I refuse to do is get into a project $50,000, and we're not even going to do anything about it. So that is absolutely against my DNA. So, and I know the board feels that same way. So are we going to talk about it? Absolutely. You know, it's funny, in the opinion survey, I think it was like 87% of people use the fitness center 3 days a week. So do I. But what we found out in the, when we look at the actual facts, because we love to cloud fiction with fact, is that we looked at all the sign-ins, and I think it was something like, 52% of people use the place 3 times a month, right? So these are the kind of things we're going to be very conscious of. Do we need to do something at Boswick? Absolutely. It's an amazing amenity, and you have assets right now that reserve for the roof of the pavilion, for the siding of the pavilion, for the deck, all of these things, right? So before we spend that money, we'd like to think about that area, right? And we don't want to spend it just to do something and come back later and say, oh, we should have done that. So you have a number of volunteers who are helping me on the Boswick work group. We're just going to talk about it for a while. And then guess what we're going to do? We're going to socialize it. right? We're actually going to talk to you about it, right? And we're going to tell you what we're thinking, and we're going to hear you say, oh, no, or yes, or whatever that is, and then it shifts a little bit. So the same goes for the Racket Center. I've got a really wonderful volunteer group of people that are kind of sitting, talking about the Racket Center, and what are we doing down there, right? Pickleball courts, pavilion. We've got some issues right now. The handicap ramp is settling, right? So there's basic depreciation, but we should have a plan. We should have something we're working towards if we're going to start spending money. So that's really what I wanted to share with you today. My hope is that we can learn to communicate as a community, that we can have constructive debate, right? That we can spread facts, that we can have most of the whole picture. Because I don't like to think the intent of Facebook is to scare people, to spread fear and divisiveness, right? I would tell you, and I endorse Facebook. Any outlet we have for our members to endorse their voice, I'm for it. I think it's great. We want members to express themselves. What I don't want is fear and divisiveness. So I think I've met with the majority of you. I'm always available to you. I'm here typically Tuesday through Sunday. Saturdays and Sundays I don't book a lot of meetings, so I kind of hang around the clubhouse and have a lot of impromptus. But let me spoil fiction with fact. Let me answer your questions. Let me clarify rumors. Let me give you a little bit more of the backstory that's happening. I feel like I've come to someplace special. I think we have a lot of work to do. Yes, thank you. It is special. And I saw that during this whole Hurricane Helene. I mean, what an effort. Mitchell looks tired. No offense, Mitchell, but man, the other day, I was worried about you. This group's working hard. We should be able to get back to pre-storm conditions probably within about 2 months. But it's been some heavy lifting. And what I really loved, I went down to the marina and everybody was helping everybody. I mean, chats and Tom and in their boats, pulling things out. It was awesome to watch. And I think those of you that were at the marina that morning, it was awesome to watch. That was our community. So I'm available to you. I love the interaction I have. I appreciate people that come and spend time with me. I encourage you to do more. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Well done, as always. Okay, so at this time I will announce the results of the Board of Directors election. We have a drum roll or something? Good enough. Okay, so we have 3 seats that we're filling this year. All 3 will fill a 3-year term. And the 3 winners that we have in no particular order are Robin Hughes Taylor, Robin here, stand up. Claire Goddard. And last but not least, Richard Kamen. No Richard? Okay. No worries. Okay. Sorry, I got a little backwards here on my agenda. Okay, so the 3-year term will begin on January 1st, 2025, and that will last through December 31st, 2027. Congratulations and thank you to all who ran into the nominating committee for all of their hard work. Round of applause for the nominating committee again. These new board members may participate at our board meetings beginning this month to help facilitate their transition to 2025, and they'll be allowed to participate in discussions, but of course not be able to vote since their term officially starts in January. We have now concluded the scheduled agenda, and we'll open the floor to questions related to material covered today. If you have questions, please raise your hand and someone will bring a microphone to you. Please state your name and address, and please keep it to questions. There's gotta be a question somewhere. Yeah, I'll give you mine.
So can we talk about the marina? So is the $700,000 expansion in the budget, or is that money we don't have and we're trying to raise it?
The $700,000 is in the 5-year plan. Don, do you want to kind of talk about how that works? And
We've allocated, and we have for a couple of years now, $700,000 in our capital reserve spending plan. So it's in the 5-year plan, and it's an anticipated expense. But we do need to further evaluate it.
I have a follow-up question.
What's the question?
What does it mean to further evaluate it? It means we need to further evaluate it. Before we spend $700,000, we want to do a whole bunch of things to evaluate whether it's a wise way to spend $700,000. I'm not trying to be a wise guy.
Is the North Course renovation?
Wait a minute.
We'll repeat the question.
Please repeat the question. I'll repeat the question.
Is the North Course renovation money we've allocated? Is the North Course renovation that we've allocated the $5 million towards a similar budget item to the $700,000 we've allocated to the marina, or are they in some different categories?
I would call it. Hello? It's not, I would call it similar. The difference is we're moving forward with it. It's been approved by the board. We've already incurred some expenses. We did have, we've had money allocated for it for a number of years. We actually pushed it off 1 year. It was planned to be performed in '24, but for financial reasons, we postponed until '25. Not entirely financial reasons. We wanted to give the South Golf Course more of a chance to heal before closing up the other one.
yeah, just to piggyback on what Don said, but if you remember, after South was done, greens were rock hard. One of the concerns that we had at the board level, given when the North Course was projected to start, which was 2024, was we would have 2 golf courses with rock hard greens. Nobody loves that. And then, the construction fatigue that Scott touched on a couple of minutes ago. I would encourage anybody who wants to take a look at the presentation that we did for the North Course. It was about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, I believe, Susanna, is that right? Yeah, we did a presentation on the North Course renovation, what that project entails, why we're doing it, costs, etc. That's on the website as well. This is our first time using microphones.
What's the percent cost to run the marina for other amenities in the neighborhood? And also on your slide for finances, there's no revenue generated from the marina included anywhere. It's not listed. We have 70-some sites on the marina and they cost at least $1,000 a piece. So that's $70,000 a year, roughly. 97, roughly, $97,000. You're getting almost $1 million a year, roughly, out of the marina. Where is that revenue going?
Okay, so the question is, what is the percentage of revenue attributed to the marina?
Well, what does it cost you to run the
And what is-
marina based on the revenue that you're receiving from the marina?
Okay, so the question is, what does the marina cost to run, and how much revenue do we get from the marina? And Don looks like he really wants to answer this.
Not particularly, but I'll give it an attempt. We have, first of all, included in the operating revenue numbers that you saw are marina fees, and along with about 50 other things. So the revenue is being accounted for. The expenses were also in the operating expenses. I can't sit here and tell you.
It should be broken out. When you have golf courses, why is the marina not broken out?
It is broken out. We have about 800 different budget line items, and I don't have them memorized. I would be happy to meet with you or speak to you or communicate to you when I couldn't answer that question thoroughly, but I can assure you of two things. The expenses were in the numbers that you saw.
Okay, they just
They're-
not listed, marina wasn't up there, that's why.
Well, none of the individual amenities were listed.
Well, it listed golf and all the amenities under.
Chris is going to give it a shot.
Okay, so in the monthly, I don't have the numbers memorized either, but in the monthly financial package that comes out every single month, Payman provides so much detail. And I'm an accountant, but it is so much detail. You can get, there's a summary schedule in there. I was looking at it literally yesterday. You can go by amenity basically, and you can see at the top of the page there will be marina. Down lower there will be marina expenses, so marina revenue, marina expenses. You can do the same thing with golf. You can do the same thing with clubhouse. It's on there. It's in the finance package. That said, if you're really super interested, I would most definitely recommend you take Don up on his offer. And or attend one of the finance chats, because I'm sure that Scott would love to walk through that as well. But the detail is in there. It's in the finance package every single month. Ooh, where is the finance package exactly on the website?
The finance minutes, yeah.
Okay, so top right, HOA resources,
Board and committees,
committees,
finance.
meetings and minutes, and then it gets in there by month. Mhm.
See the material you distributed today for this meeting.
I didn't quite catch that, I'm sorry.
The material that was distributed for this meeting, it's in there.
Okay, yes, it's also in the material that's in there for this meeting as well. We have a Zoom question.
Yes, this is from Greg Saez regarding the marina. Is the board considering making a bylaw change limiting slips spots to one per household?
A bylaw change? No, that has not been contemplated at this point. A bylaw change would require a vote of the membership, and we have not contemplated that at this point.
I have two questions. Number one, how many board members have active boats or marine use at all? Number one. Number two is, I thought I moved into an all-inclusive club, and I supported all of the about $8 or $10 million of renovations. None of the golfers are supporting any of the marina changes. We're all supporting the golf field. But why is it that we're singling out the voters to give them something that a small percentage of that we have? I don't understand why we're not an all-inclusive community anymore. We're all supporting every amenity that we have.
Okay, I'll try to take a stab at that. And then Scott, if you want to add something. I can't speak for every board member, but I guess we can do a show of hands. How many own votes? I do not own a vote. And then we were missing two. I think the short answer would be everybody in Moss Creek supports every amenity. It's essentially a big tile. So one of the things I referenced like 2 minutes ago was the presentation on the North Course. one of the slides in the presentation of the North Course, and I just stumbled on this today as I was digging around my files. 49% of the homes in Moss Creek are on the golf course. 49%, basically half. 62% of the members in Moss Creek play golf. There is a large golf population. That said, everybody supports every amenity. You know, to say, well, you know, this group supports this amenity and this group supports this amenity, that's just not how we operate, and we probably can't, frankly.
Yeah, it's something I've been thinking about a lot. So, you know, we have 600 homes basically have activity fees and create most of the revenue for the community. So we have 400 homes here who just pay the HOA and don't have an activity fee and really don't spend a lot of money outside of that. That's just the fact. So, you know, we're not a all-inclusive, we're still a little bit of an a la carte because you get to choose whether you have an activity fee or you choose whether you don't have an activity fee. So, you know, there are a number of all-inclusive communities around us, and 100% of their homes pay the same price. I don't know if that's our DNA. You know, I think some people want to live in Moss Creek and be who they want to be, and that's what makes them happy. So if we were an all-inclusive, imagine if I had $1,500 from 400 other homes. That'd be a lot of revenue, right? That offsets a lot of stuff. And our desire to be a lifestyle value, our guiding principle that says we are conscious of our members' economics. So we're on a steady as she goes kind of plane. But there's 400 homes here that really don't add anything beyond just the HOA. Yet I really think we all benefit from the improvements to the clubhouse. We all benefit from the North Course, right? So this is something, there are some really big topics that we will be talking about over the next 2 years probably, right? And these are some that I'm going to introduce to you at the finance chats because these are things we're going to start talking about. And the good news is we're doing okay, right? This is a good time. I walked into a community last time that was in a death spiral, right? We will not get into a death spiral. We're doing fine, but we're not all inclusive and we do not all contribute.
Good evening. So I have two questions. First is, I love your opinions, both, you know, just Scott for sure, and anybody else who wants to chime in on this. How did we get so into that spiral, at the Facebook spiral? Because I too panicked a bit, you know, like, I don't want to become Carrollton, you know, and spend all this money. So how did we do that?
So, you know, thank you. You know, and I've spent time with you, and I appreciate you asking this question. Gosh, how did we get here? You know, I think that maybe, you know, I like to take responsibility for things, so I'm going to blame me, right? I'm going to say the reason we got here is because we have to be in front of you so much more than we've been in front of you, right? We need to answer your questions. We need to show you in these finance chats that we live on a waterbed, right? We push down on this side pops up. We drop this one pops up, right? So we haven't even defined the terms of how we talk about finance here. So I'm going to blame me for how we got here because we have not been in front of you enough to create a common language and socialize a common direction. And that's going to change.
Can just a sub part of that, just because I know there's a significant percentage of the population that is on Facebook and looking at these things. Can we have some mechanism that someone from the board or someone from management jumps in and says, whoa, totally wrong?
Let me think about that. No. And the only reason I wanted to think about that for a second was, you know, I think, you know, I appreciated there was a comment, somebody said, hey, you know, before you post here, just go have a conversation, right? Just seek some facts, anything, make any effort whatsoever, right? I mean, you know, don't hide behind the keyboard and press send because we're gonna scare people. right? And if we say something wrong, you know, we're going to have a hearty debate about the marina. We're going to find some level of compromise listening to our members, right? But it's easy to go on and just go, oh my gosh, send, right? And what have we just done? We just scare our neighbors, right?
Okay.
So
my second question related to the idea that we have so many, a significant percentage of our population in the community that does not pay the activity fee. How do we research why that is and what we can do to kind of even it around a little bit to make sure that everyone's needs and financial, I don't know, buy-in is taken care of?
yeah, and that's a tough one because there's reasons people are doing what they're doing and they're good reasons, you know. And the question is, you know, how do we figure this out? You know, we're basically professional problem solvers is really what we are. So we need to talk about that. What you're going to find in these finance chats is you're going to find we're doing okay, right? We're doing okay. This is the time to talk about this. And one of my slides has this conversation. I'm going to have 40 members in the room 3 times this month to have this conversation to say, hey, what would you do if you were us? What kind of research should we do? We're doing a lot of things behind the scenes right now just to kind of figure out for ourselves, you know, what we think is happening. But, you know, it's like the ARB guidelines. You know, last year I think we posted them, and as soon as we posted them, a bunch of members gave us a bunch of great ideas, right? So Jan says, hey, I got an idea. You know, why don't we do a review first, right? So that's the dialogue that we're going to get into, and we're going to talk about things, right? And you hear about food and beverage minimums, and you hear about capital fees, and you hear about assessments, right? Let's talk about it, right? This isn't something we're going to do in the next year. It's probably not something we're going to do in the next 2 years, right? I remember one of my communities, we talked about some of these things for almost 2 years before the members finally said, Scott, stop speaking, right? And they voted, right? We'll get there at some point in time. I don't know if it's 3 years at Moss Creek or 4 years, but we're going to have that conversation with you.
Hi, I'm Jane Selby. I live at 235 Moss Creek. This is a safety reminder to the bikers. I walk that path with my dog 3 times a day. 3 people have rung a bell in the last 6 months. If you don't have a bell, you have a voice. Please say passing on the left or right. And don't say something nasty to me when I holler at you and say, passing on the right would have been nice. I've almost gotten hit several times. And let me tell you, if I get hurt, my expensive dog gets hurt. Somebody will be in court with me.
I'm selling my bike. You know what's interesting? I've got some questions over here. I think what's interesting about that is, you know, this is about being neighbors, right? It's about being neighbors with each other is what it is, you know, and it's about, you know, we like golf to be special, you know? We like golf to be special, right? We want things to be special. When you come to the clubhouse, guess what? We tuck our shirt in. Right? It breaks my heart to have a 20-year-old waitress walk up to a 60-year-old person and say, gosh, can you tuck your shirt in? You know? I mean, we're neighbors. You know, we do what we do for each other. You're not doing it for me. You're doing it for each other. And so, you know, Miss Selby, sorry about the ring, but the reality is that's just about being neighbors. That's all it is. You know, we're supposed to wear our hats forward. We're supposed to tuck our shirts on. We're supposed to play at the right times. We're supposed to do all these things, right? But we do this for each other, right? I don't know if people think they do it for the association, but that couldn't be more wrong. You do it for your neighbors, so.
Hi, I'm Kathy Malloy, and I just wanted to say that we just elected 3 new people, which I'm really happy to have. But I also want to say thank you to the 3 people that we didn't elect because they've done a tremendous job.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Sharon Potter. We live at 101 South Timber Drive. Mine is about beautification in the front of Moss Creek. We used to have the greenery, who was in charge of that. We had It was looking beautiful. Now I just see people working in Moss Creek filling in what doesn't look so great. That's the first part. And the second part is I come in the dark. There needs to be lighting out there that is closer to the entrance so you can see when you're making a left-hand turn. It is really dark there. I've been known to miss the entrance. Not because I've been drinking, but it's late at night and it's hard to really see making that sharp turn in there.
It's even harder when you're thinking about getting home to start drinking.
I just thought maybe we could use some lighting closer to the entrance, some smaller lights there.
You know, Ms. Potter, you might get with me and we can go look at it, because I'm not sure exactly where you're talking about, but if you show, you know, I had some neat suggestions when I first got here. You know, people ask for a sign, you know, be careful, the car's on your right, blah, blah.
That was me
made some
too.
Oh, perfect. So let's do this, let's do the lights offline. You know, as far as the flowers and what such, you know, in 10 months, I have not had a single member say, can we do less? Can we, you know, it's about more and better. And by the way, that means cash is what that means. So we'll talk about that in the finance chats. But let's do the lighting, and then the front entrance is, you know, still up for debate.
I have a question.
I think Bill's been standing there for a bit.
I know
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm probably going to get booed for this. First off, I want to thank you all. I mean, you're all thoughtful about what you response. But we talk a lot about other communities. We can debate whether they're the right communities or not. But are you aware that we are one of, if not the only gated community in the area that does not have a golf fee, an annual golf fee? And to go on with that, we've got, there are very few. To go on with that, the proposed fee increases to the boaters, and I appreciate that you're looking at that, I really do. We're looking at almost $440,000 in increases since 2001 to less than 200 people. And you've already mentioned we've got over 600 golfers that greens fees are 0. Is that accurate?
There's a lot of math there. Bill, I'd be better at 8 o'clock in the morning with that question, but what I would say is that, so a golfer pays $1,500 for an activity fee, right? And is that fair? So first of all, I don't even want to get into the word fair, right? I don't know what that means. But the reality is we have people that have one person in their house and they pay $1,500 to play golf. We have... I'm getting there, hold on. So we have families that have 2 adults and 3 children, and they all play golf, right? So the fact is, it's hard to do this kind of thing. Now, I would tell you that the golfers all pay $3,800 for a cart fee. And, well, good, because a lot of people walk, but we have a lot of people on the cart fee. Now, we don't compare ourselves to others, but it's high market, you know, and so there's so many things to talk about. There's so many, you know, it was interesting because I look back in history and I think there was a point where the community went from charging 0 for a wet slip to charging $1,000 for a wet slip. That's a huge increase, right? So this is all the conversation, and I really will enjoy the finance chats, and we'll have a talk. People will get a much better sense of what's happening with numbers here, and we're going to look into these things. I mean, these are all discussions for 25 as we bid out the 5-year plan.
I'm going to piggyback on that just a little bit. One thing that comes up all the time is, why are we comparing ourselves to other communities? And we don't, frankly. We are Moss Creek, we are different, we know that, and our DNA is different. It just is, it always will be. Where we do bring up other communities is when we are sanity testing what we are thinking about, which is different. So the way that I think about that argument is, oh, we go out and we look at all the other communities, what are they doing? And then how do we migrate Moss Creek to that? That's one approach. That is not what we do. What we do is we say, we want to do this for whatever reason, surveys, budgetary constraints, whatever it's gonna be. Is this sane relative to what the other communities look like? Completely other way around. So I just want to underscore that point. Somewhere.
I have a member over here that brought up a good point, and this is to Don, because I've got a chart from 2000 to 2009, when everything was a la carte, and it was expenses versus revenue. Number one, the only amenity that made money was the marina. Expenses, revenue. There's hardly any, I would like you to break down, and you should be able to do this. What is the administrative and what is the cost to run that marina? And B lot, and A lot. And what's the revenue that comes back now, since you upped us $1,000, and now you're talking about maybe close to 130% higher starting in 2025. I'd like to see that broken down. And I'm not a golfer, but I've already gone through, Bob Davis over here did a really good study about maybe 10 years ago. I've been here 15, president of the boat owners for over 5. And he broke it down about the deal the golfers get. And I love it. I love the golf courses. I'm on a golf course. But it broke down to after 72 rounds, we should be charging golfers $75 a round after that. And I go on the sheets every once in a while. There are guys that people are doing 200 rounds. It comes down to, what, $4 a round? And the boaters are getting screwed now. There's no doubt in my mind. You're comparing Palmetto Bay Marina, you're comparing Broad Creek Marina, you're comparing Shelter Cove Marina to the amount we're paying. I guess the question is, coming back to Don, I would really like to see the breakdown. And that woman over there who said it before, I want to see expenses broken down. You can do that.
I know I can do that. I offered to do that. I can't do that while sitting here in front of 120 people. I'd be more than happy to provide you with revenue, expenses from the marina. We can look at any amenity you want to.
Right.
And that information, by the way, is already available to you. You could go home tonight, you can go on the website, and you can find the answers to the questions that you're asking. But I don't even need to obligate you to do that. We met a few days ago, a week ago, whatever it was, and didn't have time to do much of anything to come back to you. So, you know, the request is a legitimate one. Understanding revenue and expenses of an amenity is something that you're entitled to understand. And I can and will do that for you, but I can't do that in this scenario.
That's okay. That's all right.
Excuse me. Let me make one more comment, Chaz. When you talk about the golfers having a good deal in Moss Creek, we do. Everybody in Moss Creek has a good deal. And when we compare ourselves to other communities, which we do as a check-in, there is nowhere in this area that provides anywhere near the value that Moss Creek does to its members for the money that it costs to live here. Now, there are different amenities. We need to look at them differently. Chris mentioned earlier in the very beginning of the presentation, the marina is the one entity, the one area that we have that has a limit. It's the only amenity that's 100% utilized and is finite. All the other amenities can be used as fully as people choose to. So that becomes a difficult exercise to figure out how to price these different things. But I will answer, you will have the answers to your question.
I think that becomes the low-hanging fruit, to go after a minority group.
Okay, so here's what I don't think is productive. I think I've answered your question. I'm not going to stand here and debate.
Right, no, I'm not.
You tell me when you want to sit down together, and we'll review those numbers. It won't be hard.
As I said in the beginning of this meeting, there is a lot more work to do. And you could debate every side of the budget every which way. And probably 6 more ways from that. It is a difficult exercise. There is more work to do. And we are doing that work very thoughtfully, having very constructive debate, and frankly, very enthusiastic debate.
Yeah, I'm Linda Ellis. I've been here a long time, and I want to tell you that we do have the best deal in all of Beaufort County. It is an amazing place. It is really. But my question, I also want to appreciate Blue Heron. I walked that trail quite a bit and did a gorgeous job picking that up, and it looks superb. My other question is, I don't know that we have insurance for hurricane, flood, and did that take care of all the debris pickup?
No. We do have insurance. Is it sufficient to cover the debris pickup that we had a couple weeks ago? Absolutely not. To kind of compare, I know we don't compare, but let's compare anyway, to Hurricane Matthew, which was a significant storm that we had 7 years ago, I want to say? 16, 8, holy cow. Okay, so we made money on Hurricane Matthew. The association made money on Hurricane Matthew. Are we making money on Hurricane Helene? No. We are not making money on Hurricane Helene.
And no one in the Low Country can get insurance for trees. It's gone.
Right. The it was basically the insurance for the trees in Matthew. That insurance coverage does not exist anymore. It just does not exist for obvious reasons.
Hi, I'm Judy Kraus. Hi, I'm Judy Kraus, 17 Loblolly Lane, and I'd like to piggyback on the Facebook question earlier. Disregarding any Moss Creek Facebook post, I'd like to know how many people actually believe everything they read on Facebook.
Feels like 0.
Hey, Justin Bratton at 2 Moss Creek Court. We purchased our home 3.5 years ago, and the reason we picked Moss Creek among the fairest communities was the amenity-rich community that we had and the beautifulness that we have. We feel that all amenities are important because we might not use one, but it's very significant for somebody else. So we appreciate all the amenities that we have. And my question for the board is this. It's our assumption as boat owners that the association make money out of the marina. I would like to know some reasoning behind the proposed price from the board that has not been distributed among all members, but the boat community were informed about it, because that increase is so significant that it is quite upsetting. So we'd like to know, what I'd like to know personally, how did you get to that number? And I know it's not finalized, but it's a radical increase of boat fees, and I'd like to know why. And what would be the purpose of that extra money?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the very end of that. What was the purpose of that?
And what would be used, how would the association use that money?
Oh, okay. How would the association use the money? Let's take that part first. So as Scott described, the finances of Moss Creek are like a waterbed. It all goes in one pot, essentially. There are different fund balances, but it all goes in one pot. It's like a waterbed, so you push down on one side, the other side goes up, so on and so forth. So it goes into that pot. So why the exercise? One of the reasons, and I touched on this at the beginning, is number one, it's the only finite amenity that we have, and we have a substantial wait list.
It doesn't mean that we can
You're right, it doesn't. And that's exactly why we're debating the issue. And we've been debating the issue for quite some time. Just the way that everything else in the world works, supply and demand. So how do you control the demand for something? One of the ways that you can do that is through price. So that is kind of the operating theory.
Is that the philosophy of Moss Creek, making more money specifically
Where's the microphone?
I value golfers, and I'm so glad that golfers have this incredible opportunity to play these beautiful courses at a reasonable price, given the smart money activity, and if you choose to I value that. I would imagine that most membership would value both owners and the opportunity to have this beautiful amenities where nobody else, mostly in Glen, have what we have, and to push away some owners because the fees will be so excessive. I don't think that's
Question in there somewhere?
So I'm gonna answer your question. I'm gonna attempt to answer your question. So the philosophy of Moss Creek is lifestyle value across all amenities. And we can debate what the fees should be for everything inside of Moss Creek, and we can do it 6 ways from Sunday, and we do that literally every year for months on end. The other thing that we are trying to evaluate is, should we make an investment of $700,000 for 17 wet slips? Is there a demand for that? And I don't know if there is or if there isn't. I don't have the right answer, but we're going to debate it. I can promise you that. And I don't think anybody in this room has an answer. But is there demand to make a $700,000 investment, which is going to be borne by the entire membership, like the golf course and like every other amenity? Is there a demand for it? And that's one of the ways to test whether or not there's demand for it. Now, are the final prices set on what the marina is going to be for 2025? No, absolutely not. As I've said several times in this meeting, we're debating it. There's more work to do. But the philosophy of Moss Creek is lifestyle value. And how do we make sure that everybody is getting a value out of the amenities that they use?
I have a quick follow-up question over here.
Where am I? Okay.
So thank you for...
Can you introduce yourself?
Bob Viafora.
Thank you.
Thank you for starting off the meeting talking about the marina. I also appreciate the disclaimer that said none of the decisions are final. But I remain curious, and I'm quite frankly a bit disappointed that you didn't put up the chart that shows the outrageous, egregious price increase proposals that, to my understanding, have been forwarded to the Board of Directors from the Finance Committee, and all of the Board of Directors will be voting on this within the next couple of weeks. I think it's important for the folks in this room, as well as the greater community, to see what kind of price increases are being proposed for the marina, because people they don't know that. And second thing to that, if the folks on the wait list saw those increases, you might have no wait list problem.
I would tell you that that's not true in my email inbox.
What part is not true?
That the folks on the wait list would drop off because of the price increases, and I will tell you that my email inbox says otherwise, and the meetings that I've had say otherwise. Okay. But, so,
why didn't you show the chart that shows what has been proposed by the Finance Committee to the Board of Directors?
Sure.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is you guys will be voting on that within the next few weeks.
No, that is not true. So, the reason why it is not up there is because it is a proposal. It is available to all of the members, and as I've said numerous times, we are debating this. It is not final, and there is no vote right now. Where we are going to land, I don't know. I have no idea. But we are going to debate this issue over the next 6 weeks or so, and we will land somewhere with the idea that we will do what is best for Moss Creek.
I appreciate that.
And we're going to hold a meeting, by the way.
I appreciate that. Just know that some of these proposed increases exceed 166% 2024 to 2025.
Point taken.
Thank you.
Chris, what is the appropriate time
to wait for a slip or wait for a lot A or B?
What is the appropriate
What's the
time?
appropriate amount of time that someone should have to wait?
It's a good question. I don't have that answer.
Well, I think that's the first thing that should be answered before you figure out what the new cost, proposed cost should be. Because if you ask me, I'd say, I didn't think it was a problem. I waited a year, I got my slip, I was fine with that. I'm just blessed to be here.
Point taken. But for
That's information that can't be.
sure. But yeah, point taken, but understand that for everyone who's got that opinion, there are others in the neighborhood who think that the waiting list is too long. And what the right answer is, I don't know specifically. But that, again, is something that we're going to debate a little
We're
bit.
gonna find out, right?
I don't think there's a, I don't want to get into a debate, but I don't know that there's a way to find that out definitively.
Yeah. I grew up in a middle-class family. Can you please explain? So we were an amenity community. That was the big buzzword. And I'll tell you what, water beds, the new ones, when you put it down, they don't go up and down. Get a new water bed, they're fine.
I don't have a water bed, but I'll trust your opinion on that.
What is an amenity community? What is an amenity like a community?
Next question. Yes.
I don't know how to make it work. Maybe talk louder. Victoria Drive, Revere voter. I would push back and challenge the board to reconsider the thought process of supply and demand for a private community that is not for profit. It's more about what is the expense to run the marina, what is the revenue needed to support that expense, not a massive increase. I don't understand where the increased revenue is going to benefit the whole community.
Is there a question?
I'm sorry. The question was not really a question, just I challenge you to reconsider the supply and demand comment that you made earlier and think more of it on a level of expense versus revenue to support the expense.
Okay, point taken. So,
My name is
for context there, if we did that with everything in the community, the subsidy for the clubhouse would drive up everybody's dues. That is just an example. Point taken, but again, it's like well, apparently it's not like a modern waterbed, but it's like a waterbed. The way that they used to be.
My name is Dave Lyle. I live at 33 Timber Lane. I've got a simple question to follow up. Don, the Capital Reserve Fund, was that around $3 million? I don't recall. $4 million. Okay. So my question is, if the Capital Reserve Fund is for depreciable assets, and I understand that concept, why is it not enough in the Capital Reserve Fund to cover the North Course needs of $5.5 million, not to mention the other capital assets that will depreciate? In other words, we don't have enough reserve.
One of the things that we've looked at doing when we come up with the need for capital is rather than save up and look to have enough cash. Can everybody hear me? So we're financing about half of the cost of the renovation for a number of reasons. We believe it's a better way to make equal for people the investment. So in other words, if we took $5 million, or if we took our entire reserve fund and spent it on North Course Golf renovation, everyone in this room and everyone in this community will be bearing that expense. Yet, we have a foreseeable future ahead of us where other people are going to come in and benefit from it. So when we use the concept of financing, we're not bearing the burden. The existing membership is not bearing the burden of 100% of that expense. Favorable interest rates, we were able to get when we started this. That may come back again, I'm not sure. But that's the primary reason for not using the entire reserve. And one of the things, one of the challenges is we need about $2 million a year just to fund depreciation. And that money needs to come from somewhere.
So I guess maybe my question wasn't clear enough. Maybe we should increase our reserves, is my point.
Well, I wouldn't argue with that. And, I mean, increasing the reserves increases the expense to the members in the community, and that's one of the things that we wrestle with. And that's why we look at all the fees and all the dues, and they vary from amenities to one. I mean, we've spent most of the time today talking about the marina, and that was a decision taken in the context of the whole community. It was never an attempt or an effort to isolate a small amount of people and pick on them. We need revenue in the community, and we try to get it from where it makes the most sense from an equitable standpoint. And yeah, it would be great to increase our reserves. We have a number of people here who don't enjoy increased HOA fees.
For 135 Moss Creek Drive, I know it was stated earlier tonight that we were financially sound as a community, but I had some, I know a previous meeting they were talking about, maybe this is a question for Don and for you, Chris, the certificate fees are in part to keep increasing up to, I think before it was stated 40,000 eventually in the near future. Is that still on in the works? Or?
That's what was proposed by the Finance Committee in September. Not yet voted on, but that's in the proposal, correct?
That is in the proposal for next year. If it does get voted on, they would go up to 40,000?
Correct, that is the proposal.
Thank you.
Testing? Yes. Debbie Lohman, 287 Moss Creek Drive. This is a big swing in the subject. The Whitemans from 17 Victoria Drive started a campaign to support Hurricane Helene damages and people, citizens up in North Carolina, specifically Asheville, Greenwood, South Carolina. But anyway, the turnout from Moss Creek has been unbelievable. They started this, I think, on Friday. I just got involved with them on yesterday and all day today, and we have delivered, we think, about 1,000 pounds worth of things to the Rotary Club, who's got set up a big van in Honeyhorn, and the Surge Group, who has their warehouse on Cardinal Road. So, they have been bringing winter coats, clothing, things to keep people warm. But now both organizations have asked for batteries, flashlights, winter coats, electric heaters, dehumidifiers, did I say sleeping bags, or cash to purchase these items. My question is, if you would please kind of watch for Mr. Whiteman to send out a new update. He'll be asking for these very items, and if you have it in your ability to help it out, Bart's late mother at her property, her garage at 29 Royal Point is where we're collecting everything.
Last time, Art, is the board aware that I've submitted plans for Lot A and Lot B that add approximately 20 new spaces at very limited expense and effort? And you're building, considering the addition to the marina, between those 20 spaces and what you add to the marina, that may eliminate the wait list right there.
Bill, you're part of the work group, right? And so, Chaps and Dave and Tom and you, we'll be meeting again to probably talk a little bit more about the expansion. We'll talk about that. We already started on the 2 little things we could do easily as far as Lot A is concerned. So we're going to try to do everything we can to manage that wait list. So we'll get back.
Was it the board?
No, because I have not submitted those to the board of directors yet. We'll meet.
One guy shaking his head yes. Okay.
I share everything with him.
The other thing I wanted to say.
And I still need to see if all that's feasible too. I mean, I think it is, but let's test that.
Okay. Just want to make sure it's not sitting still. The other thing is the number isn't 700,000, and if the number was 700,000, that'll be amortized over 20 years.
What was said was that there's $700,000 earmarked in the 5-year plan, of which I'd be happy to share with anybody, and they'll be coming to the Finance Chats will get a total deep dive on the 5-year plan. The current estimate for the project is $600,000. Nothing in our life is going up, so I think it's important to have the additional funds in there. And I have to say, how wise of the board of directors, a couple years ago, Bill, when we thought it was $500,000 to put in the 5-year plan $700,000.
Right, okay. My turn. Jay Solario. So, just start out with, we waited 3 years for a boat slip. A lot of people did. Okay, that's the way it goes. I know there's a lot of noise from certain people who are not happy having to wait so long, and they're putting a lot of pressure on people. I mean, that's fine, but we have to represent everybody. But what my point is, let's look at this wait list. I know you have, Chris, and you got emails. Let's look at the wait list first. Let's find a way to deal with the wait list. I personally would be happy to help, but cash talks. I mean, put a little fee in there to be on the wait list. It can go towards your slip when you get it. There's a lot of ways to make it a little bit more challenging to be on the wait list. And people move in now and they go like, hey, are you on the boat wait list? Well, I'm on a boat. Well, just get on the list anyways. It's free. And everybody's on the list. Everybody who moves in is on the list. Everybody tells everybody to get on the list. We can clean up that list real easy.
Yeah, we actually did a survey of the entire list and gained some information from there. But those are the kind of discussions that we're having right now, because we do serve the people on the wait list, and we serve the people that are in the marina. So, fair comment. Fair comment. Thank you. Be careful what you wish for.
I've had a Lot A slip for 29 years. It started out at $1,000, now it's whatever it is. When they introduced the activity fee and had no charge for wet slips, my question is, was that not a mistake? And was it not way too low, and now we're paying the price for an increase, but it was unreasonably low for years?
Yeah, Stan, I'm going to just not look backwards. I think I'm just going to try to look forward from here. Take the comments that we've heard, take where we are, continue to look at this thing and think about everything people have suggested. And then, it's funny, somebody said, what's a lifestyle value? I'll tell you what a lifestyle value is. The fact that you get to walk around and breathe in the back of South, the fact that you get to just enjoy this community and come and have fun and enjoy your neighbors, that brings value to your lifestyle. The other thing a lifestyle value does, it says you get a martini that Lisa pours for $8.50, right? Not $4 and not $13. So, it's important that we look at this stuff, because what if we had a $15 martini? It's not a value. It's a gift. It might. Good suggestion. I think that we try to stop, gap, check ourselves to say, hey, are we a value in the things we're doing? And wherever we end up, I can promise you, we'll end up as a value. It's our DNA, and it's special. It's who we are. It's the genuine Moss Creek.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So when we went out to the survey, we surveyed everybody and said, hey, do you have a boat? And if you don't have a boat, would you be able to buy one within 30 days? We only had 4 people drop off the wait list. A week ago or a month ago? Oh, what was the question?
Assuming there's some members that are not going to get a vote, but be back.
Yeah, some people moved around, but we only had 4 people drop off.
Hey, Ruth, your microphone works. Can you go over there?
Hello, Randy Mulder,
Oh.
32 Topping. So just some comments there about the Facebook. I mean, I formed my opinion off the Advocate and felt the last 2 months of the Advocate have been prepping us for these price increases. And then the Marina, I learned from a boat member, maybe a spreadsheet that was accidentally mailed out there, but I mean, this just seems like a substantial increase for me to, you're gonna tell me in 2 months, all of a sudden, I gotta pay the activity fee plus $2,500 to be in Lot A. And then my other comment is, how well is the marina managed? Because when I walk around, it seems like any given day, there's 8 or 10 empty slips. And then my understanding is the rules, it's supposed to be checked that people are actually using their boats. And maybe I'm just not seeing it when I'm down there. There's boats that never move.
Yeah, what I would do, regarding the rules, what I would tell you is I don't know if we've enforced the rules as an association. And the last thing I'm going to come in, 2 months ago and start enforcing those rules. What we're going to do is we're going to let everybody know what the rules are in 25, and we're going to enforce those rules, right? So that's how I would address the rules.
And then my unfortunate last comment is, I'm new, full-time as a beaster. If I knew you guys, I researched this community for 2 years. And kept hearing there's going to be, the marina's going to be expanded, so I'm like, oh boy, I'll be able to get in the marina, because that's our thing versus the golf and tennis and everything. It's not that we don't do it, but that's minor compared to boating. And I gotta tell you honestly, this feels like bait and switch. If I would have known, I would have seriously looked more at Wexford and Windmill Harbor and been on the island.
Fair comment. Looks like part of our group got hungry.
Maybe this will be the last. Sharon Potter from 101 South Timber Drive. When we talk about all the community coming together during Helene, I want to give a great thank you to the children that came around. We had the Wolf's son, Alan. He came to our door at 3 o'clock. He wasn't well to be able to pick up. I couldn't pick anything up. He worked for 2 hours at our house. He was at other houses. We should maybe make a list of the children here that want to work.
You're making me want to be here.
Yeah, but I just thank all of them that also contributed to help people like us that couldn't do that. So maybe that.
Yeah, that's who we're supposed to be, right?
Is that it? Okay. Feels like it. Thank you, everybody. We can go ahead and adjourn the meeting.